Hi guys, my name is Heena and I'm back with another episode in the author interview series, the Author Talk, in which we interview authors from around the world and help them get the word out about their books. So for today's Author Talk episode number 2, we have author MJ Mallon, who is here for the release of her latest book, The Golden Healer in the Curse of Time series. So, please welcome author MJ Malone. Hi, author Malone. Welcome to our series.
Hi there, Heena. Nice to see you.
Yeah, same here, same here. We've known each other for almost, I would say, 6, 7 years now.
I believe that's right. Yeah, it's a long time. I mean, I've been writing and blogging for, I lose track of time, really. Yeah, you're right. It's probably 6, 7, maybe even 8 years, something like that. There's been a lot happening.
So true. So, can you please give our readers a brief introduction about yourself before we begin?
Yes, I'm primarily a young adult author. I'm based in Cambridge, England, but I also write in other genres as well, and in different styles of writing. I write poetry, I write short stories and flash fiction. I've also compiled an anthology during the pandemic called This is Lockdown, and other pandemic literature such as Lockdown in It, Poems of Absurdity. I like to take photographs, and they appear in some of my work as well, notably Mr. Sagittarius Poetry and Prose, which features my photography and my poetry, flash fiction, and the like. So yeah, I like to dabble in lots of different things. I even write some horror from time to time. I was asked to write horror by Dan Alator, who invited me to contribute to his anthologies. This was a while ago, and I have since contributed to 3 of his anthologies, and it was a very good experience for me and a really good learning curve to learn about writing short stories. So I'd recommend that to people actually to try.
Yes. Can you please tell something about your latest release, The Golden Healer?
Yes, the latest release is The Golden Healer, which is the second novel in the young adult fantasy The Curse of Time series. It carries on the story from the first book, which is Bloodstone, and it's about a young girl called Amelina, who in the first book, Bloodstone, finds herself having to help her father, who has fallen under a curse, which has afflicted the family and made the household very, well, I'd say depressed in a way. I mean, there's a lot of sort of mental health aspects in the book, and there's lots of themes that run throughout the book, making it quite an imaginative read, I would say. And the second book continues the story, and there's lots of things about crystals. There's crystal magic in the novels, and there's the wonderful Christie chronophage clock, which is also an inspiration of the story, bringing dark themes to the novels. Actually, the clock actually brings dark themes, and the feeling of time being oppressive and time moving forward at a pace we cannot control. And there's also dark themes in terms of various characters, like Ryder, who's the main antagonist in the novels.
What is the one message that you're trying to get across to the readers through this book?
I think the Curse of Time is really primarily about vulnerability. How, whoever we are, whatever age we are, whether we're young or old, we all have a vulnerable aspect. And it's also about family and how Amelina wants to make her father better. Her father's fallen under this curse, which has rapidly aged him. And she wants to make her father better, and she wants to make her mother happy again, because her mother, of course, has been affected by her father's unhappiness. But there's also light elements in the story as well. A lot of those come about by, I think, like, for instance, Aunt Carissa, who's Amelina's aunt, she adds quite a sort of jovial aspect to it. I really like Carissa. She makes me laugh. She's this very sort of ebullient and gossipy lady that likes to get up to mischief and likes to look at the young men and have a bit of a, you know, a little bit of an eye of the young men, you know. So she brings this sort of lighter element to the story, which is sometimes needed because it becomes, you know, there are parts where the story is like, you know, elements of darkness. My machine just made a funny noise.
Okay, so I think I know the answer to this question, but still, who is your favorite character in this book or the series, and why?
Oh, yeah, that's a difficult one. I think probably I have two favorite characters, really. I think Amelina, who's the main protagonist, who, you know, I think she really grows as the story progresses. You know, at the beginning of book one, she's, you know, sometimes you feel you want to slap her a bit. She's kind of slightly annoying, but then she, you know, grows up a bit. She becomes quite mature. She develops all her crystal skills and magic, and she becomes the one who really, it's on her shoulders. She has to be the one who saves her father and makes life lighter and happier for them. So I really like Amelina, obviously. Me, who's the mirror girl, who's trapped in the mirrors in the house. She was quite an unusual character, and one, to begin with, she was a subsidiary character to begin with, someone that I thought about. But then when I started writing the story, I thought, wow, this is somebody who's got a lot of potential, this character. You know, she really spoke to me. And, you know, I felt, well, she's trapped in a mirror, but there's more to her. She's trapped in a sense by her mental health as well, because she still suffers from, you know, like anxiety and moments where her mood swings, and she has to speak to this reflection, who is the other half of her, I suppose, who tries to help her and make her feel better. So I just found her, you know, a really interesting character, and I really love. And other people have said she reads a lot. We have a lot in common that way, and Rita read for me, and she absolutely loved Esme. So we, you know, she found her a really interesting character as well. So, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, I love all my characters. I think, you know, as an author, you have to love all your characters, you know, even the bad ones,
Right.
even the bad guys, you know, like Ryder, you know. But even Ryder, I think, has got a side to him as well that comes, you know, more interesting in the second book. He, you know, develops more in the second book as a character. And I can see that progressing. If I, you know, wrote a third one, which hopefully I will, then I've started writing down a few ideas for the third one. And I believe that, you know, he would, you know, develop, you know, as all the characters. I think it's good for them to develop and give more to the story.
Okay. What was the inspiration behind this series?
Well, there are several inspirations behind the Curse of Time series. Two main ones, I would say, to begin with, I could talk about, and they are the Corpus Christi clock on King's Parade, which is this magnificent sculptural artwork clock, which is designed by Dr. John C. Taylor, who's an inventor who I met actually in September 2017, I think it was. He's like this incredible man, fantastic. It was a wonderful meeting, and I really enjoyed talking to him about the clock. The clock is just amazing. It's a huge team of engineers and people got involved in creating it, I believe. And at the center of the clock, there's this grasshopper, which is a striking looking object. And, you know, so much so that lots of tourists stand there and stare at it, and they have their cameras snapping, you know, at this clock. And I'm often walk past and I'm, you know, enthralled by it. And that became one of the inspirations behind the story. And obviously that became, you know, like an idea about, well, time and how time, we're so vulnerable and time moves so fast and we have no control over it as human beings. So that was one of the inspirations, the clock. And there are three clocks, the grasshopper, which is in Cambridge. And then there's the Midsummer Fly, And then there's the dragon. And all of these 3 clocks will feature in the Curse of Time series in hopefully the 3 books. I'm hoping to create a 3rd book as well, which will feature the dragon chronophage clock. The other inspiration is a beautiful crystal grotto in Juniper Parkland in Edinburgh, which I was invited to go and visit by my friend Christine, who's an architect who I've known for many, many years, lovely lady. And I went with her and my other friend Helen, and we saw this amazing grotto, which is created by Anya Galaccio. And you basically, well, you walk down some steps to the grotto, and it's covered, the walls are covered in crystals, and it was just stunning. And I just thought, amazing idea to create a cottage made from crystals everywhere, and everywhere you would look there would be these crystals, and with the crystals would come this magic and ideas about magic, and how the main protagonist in the Curse of Time series, Amelina, could develop her magical skills with the help of Leanne, who is the owner of the crystal cottage in the story. And there was a sense of also hidden, things being hidden, and the cottage, because it's below the ground, and again the grotto, you had to walk down steps to reach it, that it would be a hidden and very special place. And the other inspiration is a black cat that came into my garden extraordinarily at the time when I was creating this novel. It was really odd. And he appeared in my garden, and he was just the most amazing creature. He was beautiful, beautiful black cat. He was very mysterious. He would kind of appear and disappear, and I thought it sounds bizarre, but and this became one of the ideas for the story. There is a black cat called Shadow in the book, and he does appear and he disappears, and and I mean, it was really odd. I to this day, I don't know how this was possible, but I'm not kidding. He was a really funny cat. And also he was very friendly, but he didn't want anybody to pick him up. So if you picked him up, he would really tense, and he would, not like it. And so, you didn't pick him up because he knew what he wanted, and he was very friendly and very beautiful, but he didn't want anybody to pick him up. So I used to stroke him and talk to him, and he was definitely a muse, I think, for the story, to be honest. Sadly, I haven't seen him for a long time. He came for a long, long time. He came in the garden, and he would sit with me. He even came in the house sometimes, he would sit in my hallway, but then he just vanished one day, and I never saw him again. So I don't know whether he was a stray or whether he belonged to somebody, or it was quite strange, really. But anyway, I really loved him coming, and it was very nice because I love cats. I don't own one myself because my daughter and my husband are allergic, so we don't have a cat. But sometimes when they come in the garden, I really love it. Or if I walk past one, I'm always stroking them. So I really like cats. I had 2 cats when I was younger. So
what were they named?
I had Chester, which is a ginger tomcat, which I had from a kitten, and he was absolutely adorable. He was a real character. He used to go all over the place. I used to write about him when I was younger. I had a little diary, and I wrote about all his adventures. Because when I was young, I used to write bits and pieces and things down. And then my other cat was Jemima, who we got. She was a bit older. We were told when we got her, oh, she's very gentle. She won't, she will not harm her. She used to bring in all sorts of things that she used to kill, and she'd have so, we were told, oh, she won't harm a butterfly, but it was a load of rubbish. She's a bit of a devil as well. So, but I do really like cats. So, and it seems that animals tend to creep into my stories for some reason. There's a dog in the story as well, and there's a horse. It's an intense desire to have a pet, but not having one or something. I don't
know. So, how long did it take you to write this book? The second book as well as the first book?
Right. The first book was originally called The Curse of Time, and I self-published it. And it took me quite a long time because I think at the time I was flittering about all over the place. I was doing this, I was doing that. I was also writing a middle grade novel, which I haven't done anything with, and maybe I should return to it at some point. I was writing poetry. I was doing this, I was doing that. I was blogging. I was working as well at the time, quite, I mean, I was working some hours, so I was quite busy. So it did take me quite a long time, to be honest, quite several years. But I think what happened was my husband said to me, don't you think you should concentrate on one thing at a time? Like I was, I find I just get like easily distracted. And social media doesn't help either, of course. There's always so many things to distract. Yeah, and you just, at the moment I've joined TikTok, which is probably a bad idea because I can see myself getting addicted. I can see myself getting addicted to it already. It's really bad. So yeah, it took me quite a long time to write. I know I'm just, because even though it's written in quite simple language, it's quite a complex kind of concept. And the fact it was my debut novel kind of is a bit astounding, really. I don't know quite where it came from. But yeah, so I think, yeah, it took me quite a long time. And, and the second one, again, has taken me quite a long time. And I expect the third one is going to take me a long time. But I'm just one of these people. I'm not a person that churns out stories quickly.
Right.
I take a bit longer and I reflect more, and hopefully, at the end of the day, that comes out something a little bit different, a little bit unique. I hope so. So yeah, that's my process, and I'm afraid that's where I
am. Where do you see yourself 5 years from today?
Well, I hope I just keep developing in my writing, the things that I do. I mean, there's lots of things I'd like to try, like different genres of writing. It's really nice that The Curse of Time is now going to be an audiobook. The first book has come out, Bloodstone's now an audiobook, and it's actually doing quite well, especially in the UK. Its rating's quite good, especially in coming of age teen. It's been doing well. And then, I think that's also because Kerry Herbert, who's the narrator, did a really, really, really good job and brought the story to life in an amazing way. But yeah, I mean, it would be lovely if it kind of, developed, and got caught on, and really, I'd love it if it became like, I don't know, film or something, or Netflix movie, or you have these dreams as an author. We all have those dreams, but you just have to keep working and developing your craft. I mean, I've got lots of ideas for other things I want to do as well. I've got something which is in the short story stage, which is a kind of new adult idea, a vampire type story, which is a bit different, which I've worked upon. It's at the moment it's only about 4,000 words or something. So, but that might be quite exciting. Whether that will be a short story and not go any further than that, or whether it'll be a novella or a novel, at the moment I'm not sure. But my daughter read it and she said that's amazing. She's really, really liked that. So yeah, that's quite exciting. So we shall see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. Yeah. Apart from this vampire story, are you working on any other projects? Any other stories?
Yes, I've got a poetry project which I should really be finishing as well. It's called Do What You Love.
Okay.
And it's it's a similar vein to Mr. Sagittarius, Poetry and Prose, in that there are some of my photographs in there.
Okay.
It's quite a personal collection. It's poetry,
right?
And so that's something else I'm working on. And then, as I said earlier on, I also have a middle grade, which at some point I should really look at as well, which also has a dragon in it, and it's set in Edinburgh, where I'm originally from.
Nice.
And it's the idea behind it. It's because I'm mixed race. My mother's from Malaysia and my father's Scottish, I wrote a sort of mixed race kind of idea story of this young girl. And it's really about Chinese New Year and her kind of meeting the characters, meeting characters, and these characters come alive and take her on a journey and take her to, learn about Chinese New Year, which
sounds good.
So it's a nice story. It's a nice middle grade story, and maybe something I might come back to. I should really.
When did you decide to become a writer? Was it easy for you to follow your passion, or did you have to make some sacrifices along the way?
It has been quite difficult at times, because I was, especially more recently, I was working quite long hours at an international sixth form. And, there was always, so you have to kind of carry on, you work, you do your 9-to-5 job, and then you also do your writing, and I also was blogging a lot at the time. I've cut down my blogging a lot, quite a bit. I still blog, I still review books and things, but I've cut certain things down. Something has to give. So I was, it's difficult, but I think when you have a passion, and writing is a passion, definitely, then, you just, you do it, and that's the passion that you have. I mean, like my boss at work laughed at me once because we were at this a night out, and I was dancing all night, and he said, "Oh gosh, you've got a lot of energy to dance all night, but you want to cut your hours down." And I said, well, I was thinking to myself, well, when you have a passion for something, you will go that extra mile, whether it be, I don't know, dancing or art or writing, creativity or whatever. But yeah, it can, and like things can get distracting, obviously you've got family, various things going on, but yeah, writing is a passion, and you do what you can, and you try and develop as an author.
On a lighter note, can you share your writing ritual with us? How you do it? How do you prefer?
Oh, ritual, yeah. Ritual, yeah. I don't know. I don't really have too much of a ritual. I think I think with The Curse of Time, it was quite strange because it was the first book I wrote, as I said, and I kind of woke up in the morning with this like massive burst of energy, and and ideas just sort of flooded, and it was just quite strange, and it was and not so much it was a ritual, it was more like it was like, oh gosh, I've got these ideas, I've got to do something, and then I would, I'd get up, and I was, I'd not lie in bed anymore. I'd get up and start typing, and start writing a few notes or whatever. And I think I'm very much a morning writer. I'm not really one to write too much in the evening, mainly if I can, it depends on work, obviously, because when you're working, then you have, but I prefer to write in the morning because I find ideas are more fresh. And as I say, I often wake up, it's like I have a little reel in my mind, I wake up and this reel is starting, and then I'm like, oh, I can sort of, it's almost like I can visualize, what I'm going to write. And then it just flows really, and then I just start typing, and it just came. And that with The Curse Time, that's what happened, really. I mean, I just kind of started writing and it came. And I didn't have any writer's block or anything. It was really odd, it was just like, it just flowed, I mean, and I think, I mean, the problem with that, I mean, it's a great way to write because then it becomes a very imaginative story, which I think The Curse of Time series is. But also structurally, it can be, you've got to kind of pull back a bit, and like, oh, right, okay, yes, but this has to be, here or this, so I think the third one, I'm going to take a slightly different process. I'm going to, I already put a few notes down, but I still think intrinsically I'm the type of person that writes from a flow of my imagination rather than from a plotting, very structured kind of way of writing. I'm much more of a organic, write and it will come, hopefully come, kind of way. Yeah.
Right. Okay. How do you prefer to write? Computer, laptop, typewriter, dictation, or longhand with pen?
Oh, right. Definitely computer. My writing is awful,
Okay.
really, because it's like really awful. I don't know what it is, but I just, if I try and write neatly, I find it quite hard. And I think it stems from being a student, like when you used to write loads of essays and used to write in exams, and you were like, oh gosh, write really fast because I've got to get all this down. And the poor person trying to read your writing was probably like, oh gosh, what is this meant to be? So I think basically, I think I much prefer, having a computer and typing it, and then you can change things around. If you make a spelling mistake, you can easily change it. It's a lot. I just find it a lot easier. Sometimes I use notebooks for like little ideas, maybe that type of thing. But on the whole, I would use a computer to do my writing. Yeah, definitely.
Can you name your 5 favorite authors or 5 favorite books?
I've got some of them here actually. I've got Philip Pullman, who I love. Northern Lights. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
Northern Lights, Subtle Light Knife.
Okay.
And The Amber Spyglass,
Wow.
Which I really enjoyed. So Philip Pullman, I really like Marcus Zuzak, The Book Thief.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah, really nice. And Jay Christoph, which, because we're kind of moving things around at the moment, the books are somewhere, but I can't find them at the moment. But anyway, the Nevernight Chronicles, which actually I think of everything, it's probably my favorite. The Nevernight. I just loved Jay Christoph's writing. I just had so much passion. Another thing I've noticed, and it's interesting, is I've been thinking about this, because when you asked me this question, I thought, and I looked at the books that I like, and the interesting thing about it is they all seem to have female protagonists, which is interesting. Book Thief, Northern Light, Philip Pullman, I seem to gravitate towards the female protagonist, the one that goes on the voyage and, and tries to make things right, which is interesting. And then, of course, there's a lot of self-published authors recently who I've been reading, who I've really enjoyed. Sim Alex Sanford, it's a new one that I've come across recently, who writes supernatural kind of novels, which I really enjoyed. He's really fabulous. And Chantal Atkins, who writes sort of young adult fiction.
Okay.
I really enjoyed her book, The Mess of Me, which was really good. So yeah, lots of different books. Obviously I read a lot, always, and I read in all genres. From fantasy to, I don't know, memoirs, all sorts really. And I think it's important as a writer to read. It develops your craft to read, and well, I just enjoy it. I enjoy reading. I also really enjoy listening to audiobooks at the moment. That's something that I found that I like to do. And paperback, I love paperbacks, so if somebody gives me a paperback, they jumps to the top of my TBR, definitely. Oh, right, paperback, right, you're there. Kindle, I'm not so keen on at the moment because I've got 1 or 2 eye issues, so I have to be a bit careful.
Okay.
I've cut down my reading of Kindle. I mean, I still do a bit, obviously, but I have to just not read too much because I'm on the computer a lot, so I just have to be mindful of not reading too much on Kindle. So yeah, audiobooks. I love audiobooks and paperbacks. I really enjoy reading. So and it's nice. And I've had a few copies recently of people have sent me books. I might mention this more later, but there's this book I had been given by Amanda Prowse, which is called The Boy Between.
Okay.
And that I'll maybe talk about that later, but it's about mental health and depression and her son who suffered, and their story, and it's really interesting. So that's Right. So I'm currently reading that. I'm nearly finished that. I've only got, I don't know, a few pages left.
Okay.
Near the end. Yeah.
Wow. I look forward to your review for that book, because even I would like to check.
Yeah. I'll review that one. I've had it for a little while, and but I've got around to reading it now, so it's really good. And I mean, I think it's a good book. I would recommend it. So from what I can see. And I think what's interesting about it is, obviously it's about depression, and when you're reading it, you really, you realize just how it affects the whole family, not just, the person who, is obviously it does really affect the person who's suffering, but it's more than that. It's like everybody, it's the mother, the father, the whole. So that I think is something I took away from that book. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for sharing. Like, amazing recommendation. I'm gonna go back in the video. I'm gonna add the books to my TBR.
All right.
Do you get a lot of writer's block? And if you do, then how do you deal with it?
Not too much, really. I think maybe I will struggle a bit more with the third Curse of Time, the third novel, possibly. I think because, I don't know, I've just got a feeling I might, but then I might not, who knows. There hasn't been the same burst of surge of energy that I had with the first two, so it's been a bit more slower, but it's coming. I've started writing the third one. I've got some ideas down. I wrote an outline, and I've written the first few chapters. But I find that, if I do have any problems with, that kind of thing, I go for a walk. Quite often I remember, when I was walking to work, I used to walk to work, I got off the bus and I walked to work. And often I would see people, like passing by, and they would become characters, or, I saw this really strange guy once in the we've got the shopping centre in Cambridge called the Grand Arcade. And there was this really odd guy it was really bizarre. He was standing, there's one part of the Grand Arcade where there's just really narrow space. And he was standing in this narrow space, like not like everybody else that was walking, or like he just put himself in this little space, and he was just standing there. And I thought, God, how odd. And he became an idea for the short story for one of Dan Alator's anthologies. So, I wrote about him, and he became a character in a book. He doesn't know it, but he did. And then another couple of guys I saw in a cafe in Cambridge became characters in Mr. Sagittarius. They were just these two old guys who were sitting, and they were twin brothers, and they were in this cafe, and they just were practically identical. I think one was wearing glasses and the other one wasn't. And I just caught my eye, and I couldn't help, I think that's me very much. I just, I'm always looking, oh gosh, look at him, or whatever. And the other thing I find good to do, other than, I think I'm very much a visual writer, but also there's an element of auditory as well, in that, I also kind of eavesdrop.
Right.
I'm really bad at that. I'm always like listening, and I love train journeys, because on trains, like you always, what did he say? So yes, or cafes, you go in a cafe and you listen to a conversation, and and it sparks all sorts of things. The other day I was in the country park, and again I was listening to people, and these, again, it was these two old guys again. I don't know, maybe I've got a thing about old guys at the moment, who knows. These two old guys were talking, and they were like, they were so sweet, they were talking about how they come every Saturday, and they get together in the country park, and I don't know, just whatever. Or somebody that you see on a road, this girl was walking towards me once, and she was around about Halloween, and she was like really, really unusual looking, and that gave me an idea for a poem for Halloween. So lots of things, really. Lots of things. So I think really, I think another thing that's helped a lot with writing and that kind of thing is mindfulness. I did some mindfulness at when I was working at MPW, which is an international sixth form, and they gave us all the the opportunity to do some mindfulness training, which was really interesting.
Right.
And I think it's just that you see the world in a different way if you've done something like that.
Right.
Because it's you focus on the really small, minutiae of life, which can pass you by and you might not notice it. Like you can walk down a road and there might be a toy dinosaur in a corner or something, and you might walk past and not notice it. But
Right.
I know that's just an example, but
Right.
it's and I found that really interesting. And so when I go for a walk, I try and look deeper into things and see what what there is to see, and then I just like walking anyway.
Okay.
So enjoy it.
What advice would you like to give to aspiring writers?
Well,
Authors.
Advice for inspiring authors is, well, lots of things really. Read lots, read lots of books. Find your tribe, find the people who will encourage you, who will help you in your journey, and just keep on working at your craft, and trying to be the best you can be, really. And also don't get too upset by criticism. It's easy, I think, to get knocked down really badly by if someone criticizes your work, or somebody gives you a rubbish review, that kind of thing. I mean, it's hard, there's no doubt about it. It's hard, and I've experienced it, obviously now, because Bloodstone's now gone out more into the world, and there have been some fabulous, amazing reviews, but there have also been some really
they always are
kind of reviews. I mean, there have been some really bizarre ones as well, which luckily I've tried to look at it with humor, because I think you have to, otherwise it can, because all authors, even the most amazing authors get rubbish reviews. They all do. And I think the way to cope with it is, well, my way to cope with it now is to just have a look at the humor in them, because I think there was one not that long ago said something like, there's so much focus on the character's eyes. There was this person's eyes, and I thought she kept repeating about eyes, and I thought, really? Is that all you can say? Anyway, so you just have to kind of take everything with a pinch of salt, and I think you've got to believe in yourself as well. I think ultimately you have to believe in your writing, and you have to believe in what you're writing about, and you have to love what you're writing. And I do. I mean, I love the Curse of Time series. And when I heard it on audiobook, it was just such a wonderful feeling, to have somebody read your work, and to hear it, spoken, and also to hear the characters, because you did a good job, and like try and get the voices and the intonations and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just an amazing feeling that to have. So so authors out, new authors out there, just keep working. Try and find your tribe. Find the social media that suits you as well, I think, is another thing, because it's easy to get sucked into lots of different things. Try not to get sucked into too many, which I'm a bit guilty of sometimes. Like find the one that's right for you, and stick with that. I think maybe have 2 or 3. Don't have like, I don't know, too many. Don't have too many, I think, because it's a very time like nothing on earth, really.
Okay, so that concludes our interview. Thanks a lot, Marge, for your amazing, funny, and insightful answers.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me. It's really, really kind of you. And
it's such a pleasure. It's
been really nice chatting to you and talking about books and writing. There's nothing more I like to do. I think my family are probably like, oh my gosh, here she is again talking about it. But obviously I'm passionate about it. So yeah.
It was a pleasure having you with us. Thanks a lot. And we are really looking forward to reading the third part and other books that you've planned in the future. Bye.
Thank you, Heena. Really nice talking to you today.
Same here. Same here. Thank you so much.
All right.